held several managerial positions in various PDVSA subsidiaries worldwide. He was assigned to numerous countries including Japan, Italy, and France. He rose to become the CEO of Citgo Petroleum. Pereira was a part of the great oil and petrochemical project in Venezuela in the 80s, launching PDVSA to become one of the top 5 companies in the international oil business. He actively participated in several managerial positions. Pereira was integral in directing the internationalization of PDVSA in the late 90s and early 2000s and the renationalization of PDVSA in 2006 to 2007. He was also part of the PDVSA team that created Corporación Venezolana de Petróleos, CVP. This affiliate managed more than 40 JVs with international oil companies in Venezuela. His strategic leadership promoted him to the US-based CFO and CEO positions of Citgo Petroleum, which he held until his retirement. While at the top of his career as Citgo CEO, the 6th biggest refinery complex in the US, Pereira was called to attend a business meeting in Caracas at the Petroleum of Venezuela, the parent company of Citgo headquarters. On that day, the Venezuelan regime accused him of corruption, espionage, and treason, among other false charges, and captured and imprisoned him. This nightmare lasted 1,775 days, an equivalent of 4 years and 8 long months. After the United States government orchestrated his release, Pereira turned his focus to advocating and supporting hostage families enduring similar nightmares and broken processes. His experience made clear that what he had survived can help others struggling to overcome, thrive, and succeed in any circumstance. He now speaks to spread a message of resilience, hope, faith, and survival. Pereira is proof that we can conquer anything. He works to combine his career and life experiences with his strategic planning and relentless mindset approach to coach others through seemingly unsurmountable situations. He calls this program Life Pills for a Survival Guide. With an emoji ovation, kindly give a warm welcome to Jose Pereira. Jose Pereira, you are welcome. The floor is now yours.
Thank you very much. Wow. I got surprised that you reduced it. It was so long. So I didn't know that my bio was so long.
I tried to shorten it, but I realized that if I shorten it too much, I will remove vital information from it. So
No. I think you did it really well. By the way, I was surprised it was so long.
Really?
Yeah.
I know it.
For having me in this stage, by the way. Hello, I love when you said. I didn't hear your total speech because I came a little bit late and I totally agree what you say. By the way, I have every Friday in the morning. That's why I came a little bit late because I have a group here. I live here in Houston. Every Friday morning, I have a group of more than 60 guys, businessmen here in Houston. Some of them are active, some of them are retired, and their sons and their relatives handle their businesses, and I coach them every Friday morning. It's a wonderful meeting. It's funny because these guys, some of them are in the 70s and maybe in the 80s, so they can be my father, and I'm honored to be their coach because even though they are guys with a lot of experience and wisdom, always the people need a coach. Everybody needs always a coach because you don't have all the answers. And my speech today is going to be about the leadership. I'm going to talk about leadership. And one of the things that I always mention, by the way, I yesterday did a podcast that I'm going to post maybe next week, where I talk about this. Exactly. During my career, and as the presentation they gave to me, I worked during 35 years in the oil and gas. And my career, for some reason in the life and destiny or whatever you can mention it, I did it in PDVSA during one of the most best momentum the PDVSA was having, but I was always in the international side. I was always involved with international joint ventures. So I always was involved during my career. I worked in joint ventures with the Italian oil company Eni. I did with a Japanese oil company Impex. I was with a British oil company with BP. I was also with Conoco, Chevron, and Exxon from the US. Total from France and Statoil from Norway. So, and finally, I finalized my career here in the US with a totally American company. So, literally, I did all my career in that side, and that gave me like a clear vision of what a leader has to have, and with a multicultural environment that I need to go through all my life. So I'm going to beginning to talk about what is a true leader about. So my speech is going to be related to that. So there is always the discussion if a leader is born or if a leader is made. This is like who comes first, the egg or the chicken? It's an eternal discussion. If the leader is born or if the leader is made. And there's a lot of writing about that. And the long, short answer is that both answers are right. You can have a leader that are born and you can have leaders that are made. Anybody, and the people that are hearing me here or maybe they hear after, have had, even in their families, maybe kids that when they're born, they're true born leaders. There are people that when they are born are true born leaders. They have it in their nature, and that they develop it during their life. But at the same time, a leader can be made. Because, by the way, yesterday I was talking with a friend that I met from Mexico City, and she's a neuroscientific. And she was talking about the plasticity of the brain. She has done studies about the plasticity of the brain. And one of the beauty of the brain is that because of that plasticity, you can train your brain. Anything in your life, you can train your brain. So, answering the question of if you can make a leader, the answer is yes, you can make a leader. And that is the reason this type of seminar, you can do it. Because you can become a leader. Even if you are not a leader, you can become a leader. But you need to have something very clear. You have to have the proper mindset. I heard when Eloho said it, and I don't know if the other speakers mentioned it, but you need to have everything is related to have the proper mindset. Now, if you feel that you don't have leadership skills, I'm going to show you what are the skills, what are the traits that a leader has to have, and you will see what resonates to you, what doesn't resonate to you, and what you have to work about it. And there is where coaches like me, that I'm a leader and specialist coach, can help you, because Eloho said it very well. You need somebody to mentor you and to coach you. So when we talk about if a leader can be made, I can tell you during my long career, I saw several cases. The leaders, at the beginning they were not leaders. People maybe they were shy, or they didn't feel that they have leadership skills. But once they begin to develop those skills and they begin to feel more comfortable, became great leaders. And let me tell you the story. The history talks a lot about it. If you are a God believer, you can see a case like David, King David. King David was a shepherd. No? He was not the leader of his nation, and he became a great leader because he got the grace of God. So today I combine my experience with that spirituality, because I'm going to talk about that. Because a leader not only has to have that skill, has to have that connection with God, or with the entity. Any entity that you believe, you need to have that connection. So there are several skills that a leader has to have. And I'm going to begin to mention it, and I'm going to be deep diving in them after. A true leader first has to have something that is called the higher self-awareness. So what that means, having the higher self-awareness. A leader needs to know that he has to recognize that he has strengths, but at the same time, he has weakness. And this is very important in a leader. Why? Because sometimes anybody can have in their life this type of examples. Leaders that they believe that they know they have all the answers. Leaders that you cannot discuss with them because they believe that they have all the answers. A true leader is the guy that is humble and recognize that he doesn't have all the answers. So what a good leader does, he's surrounded with wonderful people. So there is come one of the first things of a leader. A leader needs to be surrounded with good people. Sometimes there are leaders that they think that if they don't have people that they have their own bright, they're not going to shine. And it's not the way. If you are a good leader, you have people that shine, and you will shine brighter. You're going to be brighter. So a leader has to recognize that he has people that can help him. So this is one of the first things, and they have to be humble. Another thing that a leader has to have a high integrity. This is so key, and today's world is so important, because this has to be with the ethics in a leadership. A leader needs to be a model. Can you imagine you working in a company or any business where your leader doesn't have integrity? Even if he thinks that the people will not know, believe me, between heaven and earth, everything can be known. So if a guy is doing something wrong, everybody in the organization will know it. And this is a leader that the people will not recognize. They will maybe accept it because they don't have nothing more to do, but they will not recognize it. They will not follow him. So a leader has to have integrity, because he becomes a model to the others. So that's so important. A leader needs to have something that is called empathy. A leader has to be an empathic person. So what means being empathic? Being empathic means putting in the shoes of the others. And it is so important, this what I'm saying, because when you put in the shoes of the other, you can feel their pain, you can feel their struggles, you can feel their beliefs and their fears. And that, if you're having a proper feedback with them, that will make that you can make better decisions. And here, I'm going to stop you to say something. During my long career working with all these companies, I'm going to put an example that I always mention about. I was back in the 90s working in a big refinery that we were building up in Venezuela. It was a not a gasoline refinery. It was a subproduct called MTBE, methyl terbutylhexanol, was a derivative of the gasoline. It was a big refinery, 200,000 barrel refinery. It was done with an Italian company. When I came to that company, working with them, I was assigned by PDVSA, and we have co-workers that were Italian. And, everybody knows that Italians are very effusive. They talk with their hands, and they are they speak very loud. And the first time I was in a meeting with this guy, I said, hey, what is this? That was like everybody was fighting in that meeting. So I didn't feel comfortable. Well, let me tell you, I stayed 5 years in that project, and after that, you get used to, to understand them, because that is part of one of the things that a leader has to do, has to recognize the difference and adapt to the culture. So when I finished that project, I was assigned to a Japanese project with a Japanese company. So I was assigned, and I stayed in Japan like 6 months, and after that, I came back, and we were, that was not a downstream, was an upstream project. The first day I arrived to that Japanese project, I felt like I was going crazy, because the cultural difference was extreme. The Italians are very loud. The Japanese are so peaceful and so quiet. So my first reaction was, what is this? Nobody was talking. Everybody was quiet. And for me, it was really a disruption. So I went to a library, and I bought a book, How to Deal with the Japanese. and I bought another book, which was the Sea Carry. That was How to Deal with the Japanese. I began to read the book, and I learned that the Japanese has something in their nature. It's in their DNA. It's part of their culture. Something they call it the wa. W-A. Wa. Wa in Japanese means harmony. So the Japanese, in their culture, and I learned that from them, they really, truly believe in harmony. So what means working or believing in harmony? Respecting the difference of the other, understanding the others, and they will never take a decision without having everybody in consensus. So sometimes, I don't know if you have read, but typically if you work with any Japanese company, they always, the decision process is a little bit longer, because they have to align everybody. They will never take a decision if the people are not aligned. Believe me, I went through experience with them, that having decisions that to be made, that maybe I was not agreeing with the decision, they came to me and tried to convince me. And after I was not convinced, the decision was not made. Even at the time I was not a top boss, I was maybe a 13 boss, but this is a very clear example of what the empathy means. Understanding the others. So why this is so important in a leader? Because that have the sense that even if a leader has to take a strong decision, because at some point a leader has to take a strong decision. I don't know, maybe they have to cut the budget and have to fire people, or have to cut a branch because it's not making money. I don't know, it can be any situation in the life. But the important is that the leader has the empathy to try to think and feel what the others are feeling. And believe me, even if they will not accept the decision because it's affecting them, at least they will understand why you're taking the decision, because they have to be very related with something I'm going to talk later. That is called communication. A leader has to be also aware of the personal growth. The personal growth of the person. What that means? Well, the leader has to take care that the people grow. They are trained. It can be external training, internal training. It can be the ladder of in the company, making substitution, whatever. But taking care that the people really need to grow. So the leader, when their team grows, he grows. So these are like a core values in a leader. But these have to do with some key traits that a leader has to have. And one of the most important trait is what I mentioned before, is communication. The communication in the leadership is one of the most key important things in the life. Communication means it's a bilateral communication. That means that a leader has to be a good speaker, but at the same time has to be a good listener. Not a hearer, a listener. Because it's not that you hear, it's that you listen. So a leader, when they have these two combined tools, that is a good speaker and a good listener, is when it becomes a good leader. And it is so important this, that today, most of the great businessmen in the world are great speakers, because they know how to connect with the people. So a leader has to be a great speaker, a great communicator, has to drill down and has to adapt his message depending on the audience. Hey, that doesn't mean that you're going to be changing your message. I'm saying that you have to adapt your message to the audience. As a good speaker, you need to know where is your audience, what are their feelings, and then you adapt, because you want to get to them. So the only way to connect with them is connecting at the level. So that skill, that trait of being a good communicator and a good listener is so important. I'm going to mention here another example that always I talk about it, because during your career, and by the way, during my career, I had the opportunity to have a good leaders and some bad leaders, but I had, let's say, the fortune that was more the good leader than the bad leaders. And from all of them, you learn things. They became, as I said, a leader becomes like a father, it's a mother. And I was working in a project. I mean, it was back to the 2005, around that frame. I was assigned to a project with two American companies, with ConocoPhillips and with Chevron Texaco. We were three companies: PDVSA, Chevron Texaco, and ConocoPhillips. And the structure of the company was set up that part of the management was from PDVSA, part of the management from Conoco, and part of the management from Chevron. So that was the way it was set up. So the president of the company at the time was a PDVSA guy, was a Conoco guy, was a Venezuelan guy. But that guy, I was the CFO of the company at that moment. That guy, he had the experience that he really came, like me, working with international companies. So he had like a very open mindset. So that guy, we had an office building, like 7 floors, and in the penthouse was his office. And I came very early in the morning. Every time I came to my office was like a 6:30 a.m. in the morning. At that time there was no social media. I believe that internet was very in the beginning stage. So I in the corner I bought the newspaper, physical newspaper, and I was in my office. I always was in the very early in the morning. I took it to read the newspaper. Well, this guy every morning came to the office. And he visited one by one all the offices of the people that were there. He came to the door, knocked the door, saying hello to the people, how they feel, and he walked away. And he did this like a ritual. Every morning, that guy, I saw him doing that during 5 years. It's 5 years that I stayed there. It came so deep to me that years after, like 20 years after, when I became a CEO, I was doing the same thing he was doing. I adopted that thing, the going every morning to talk to the people. So it came to me that one day we were revamping a refinery in Aruba. We were in the Caribbean island. We had a refinery in Aruba, and we were having meeting with these big contractors. They were revamping the refinery, and then I was having a meeting with one of these big contractors. And when the people of the contracting company came, when I see the people coming inside, I saw was that guy, the CEO of that contractor was this guy. His name is Victor. And when I saw him, I got surprised. I had like 20 years that I didn't see him. And I said, hey, Victor, how are you? And then he said, yeah, Jose, I'm very glad to be here. And he said me, you know, Jose, I always knew that you were going to make it. And I said, you know, Victor, because I always believed in you. You were my model. And I mentioned him that I adopted this practice. That I was every morning going to visit the people in their office. That guy came to me and said, it only takes 30 minutes. You talk with the people. You feel how they feel, and then you have a feedback what's going on. So a good leader has to hear the people. That guy what was doing was smart. In 30 minutes, he had a briefing of what was going on in the company. So nobody came after to say things to him. He talked directly with the people. So that's something that a good leader does, the communication. As I said, a leader has to have integrity, great ethics, and a leader has to have another thing that is so important. A leader has to be vision, has to be a visionary. So what that means, being a visionary, a leader, a true leader, because if you go to the business model of a company, you know, you set up goals, you set up objectives, then you set up the goals, then you set up the mission, and then you set up the vision. And according to that, you decided that you create your business plan. I'm going to talk a little bit about this to understand why the vision is so important. Because you first set up the goals, the objective. So the objective is the thing that you think that you're going to pursue. So those objectives, then you transform it in goals. So the goals, you have to make it, they have to be, you know, reasonable, have to be measurable, have to be meaningful, have to be achievable. So when you set out your goals and have all these characteristics, so that short-term goals you convert in your mission. The mission is the walk that you have to do to get to your vision, where you want to go. And there is where the true leader comes. The true leader is the guy that he throws the ball far and he knows where he wants to go. So when a leader has that vision, he knows where he wants to go. And he has also the communication skill. So he transmits to the employee his vision. What's going to do? He's going to inspire them. The employees are going to get inspired. And when you have inspired employees, my friend, they're going to give you extra mile for you. So this is what a true leader does. And there are many examples of great leaders. One guy that I always remember is Steve Jobs. Unfortunately, he died. But Steve Jobs was a great leader, a visionary. He knew where he wanted to go. I always remember I was in a summit. I was invited by KPMG, you know, the auditing firm. They were having a big Latin American summit in Brazil. They invited me because at that time I was working on one of the biggest projects in Venezuela. It's the Faja project, one of the biggest oil fields in the world, even bigger than the Saudi Arabian oil field. One of the biggest. I think it's the biggest in the world today. Well, so I was going to make a presentation about the development of the project. We're having by the time like 40 companies working there. And I remember that I was invited to speak there. And when I was in the rooster to speak, in front of me was a guy that somebody told me, you know, who is that guy? And I said, okay, that's the founder of Yahoo. By the time Yahoo was everything, you know, it was the beginning of the social media. Yahoo was everything. So I had in front of me the founder of Yahoo. And he did a speech. I remember his speech. So when the speech finished, I remember the guy got kind of nervous. He began to see his phone and he was nervous. And And at some point, he walked away, and everybody was fine on with the guy. You know what was his message? That he received the message that Steve Jobs had passed away. So he was a close friend of Steve Jobs, and he flew away that day because he wanted to go to the funeral. So I always remember Steve Jobs because I had that event that went through my life, and I always think about Steve Jobs living a great visionary. And there are people that sometimes don't believe in some guys. I'm going to mention it here, Elon Musk. Elon Musk, the people love it or hate it, but he's really a great visionary. So a guy like Elon Musk has that vision that he wants to go beyond. I remember I saw one day an interview that he did in 2001, 22 years ago. That guy was talking to put the man in Mars. 20 years ago, that guy already was clear he wanted to put the man in Mars. So that's what a true visionary does. So why is important? Because when you have that guy inspiring your team. Another thing that a good leader has to have, he has to have decisiveness. Has to have the balls. Has to take the decision. Even has a strong, has to take the decisions. So that's what a true leader does, has that decision. So when you put everything, like I said, when you put everything and you shake it, all these things, you put it together and you shake it, what it comes? A great leader. A great leader. So what is going to be the benefit? Because you say, okay, I'm a great leader, right? What? Well, if you're a leader in your company or in your business or in your life, that will gain you a lot of benefit. One of the first things that's going to benefit you, that you're going to increase employee engagement. That's the first thing. If you're in a business and you do all these techniques and you do it naturally, because the people will understand when something is fake. Okay? That will increase your employee engagement. The people are going to get engaged with you. The people are going to give you extra mile. So when they get engaged, what is going to happen? That is going to improve your performance. So the performance of the company is going to be raised. And when you have these employees engaged with a performance improved, this is going to be a great place to work. The word of mouth, everybody will know that it's a great place to work. What will happen?
You have 2 minutes more, sir. You have 2 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I was so inspired. Okay. So it will retain your talent acquisition and will adapt due to the changes. And I was gonna go more extensive. Okay. And you had to come in previously because I was inspired. So that when that all you put together, that leader is more adapted to the change. So I'm gonna finish here, and if you want to continue hearing more, because I can talk here for hours. I have a program where I talk extensively about this. In LinkedIn, I'm talking about this. I have my coaching program related to this. So anybody that wants to have a session with me, I can give more explanation on this, because I combine today, as the introduction they said, my experience that I went through my 35 years in the oil and gas with leadership, in my survivor experience, and that's my speaking and my coaching program that I have today, because I coach and I speak. Because in part of my coach, I do one-on-one sessions or collective sessions, and sometimes I speak to them, because the intention is motivate, keep boost of resilience of the employees. And well, we can continue talking about this. Connect with me, and you will see a lot of good stuff that I'm always posting on newsletters and audio, StreamYard, YouTube. I have a lot of things that I'm always sharing related to leadership. But all these techniques, think about it. See you where you are. Understand that you're in a company, how your leader is. You will see if they follow this route, they're going to be a great leader. So, sorry I have to come here because I don't have more time, but I hope that you got the message of what a true leader has to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jose. This was awesome. You have said so much. My notepad is actually full. I have written so much. Thank you so much. The floor is now open for whoever wants to ask questions. If you have